me is Miss Jasmine Turner. Now, Jasmine is with Black Match Made. She trying to get y'all sisters right. I don't know. We'll talk about that a little later. But Jasmine, I'm still trying to figure out this. I was thinking we talk about what's in it for the black people all the time on the WVON morning show, and one of the things that I try to tell black folks is we need to be involved in our self-interest, not the personalities. Now, Omarosa,
There has to be a next up. We can't not have anyone in there speaking on behalf of black people. We can't wait for the Democratic Party to speak on behalf. They had what, 8 years? We just had a Democratic president for 8 years, and what happened, right? So we can't wait on the political party to do what they need to do. We need someone that we trust to care mostly about what's going on in the black community, not everybody else, whose sole purpose is to focus on the black community.
So, how do we identify that person and put them in the space without them being castigated by black folks? See, Jasmine, one of the things that I've learned in politics for black people is that we have people talk about the spook that sat beside the door, but they really don't know how to implement it. Right? I always feel like the black person that is in the room, you got to try and put your arms around them, right? You've got to, you can't be like, oh, I saw you over there, so you kick them down. You got to be like, and even if they didn't get out, they in a sunken place, you got to try to slowly pull them out the sunken place. Because remember, if you pick on somebody, right, and they're down, when they got the opportunity to jerk you, they'll jerk you.
Yeah.
And so remember, the same people that are as you're throwing rocks and stones, they be the first person to Clarence Thomas you. If you leave them out there, they Clarence Thomas you and say them, right?
We push them out.
Right, you push them out, and like if you watch what happened to Omarosa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else who goes into that slot probably is saying to themselves, y'all take this spot, I'm just going to go ahead and get mine, because the black folks ain't going to never let you come back no kind of way.
And that's how we're still doing on Rosa. Even though that she's speaking out, has reported Trump saying that he's a racist, if you look at the comments on Shade Room, everybody, they don't care about what actually happened. They just care about the fact that Omarosa is quote unquote canceled, right? We don't care about what really matters.
I think it's like we would rather see, like, I'm going to tell y'all what. If anybody doubts that Donald Trump has called black people, y'all telling y'all, he got a tape where he said, look, man, I just walk up to him and grab him straight in the biscuits. And he did not say biscuits. So I am not putting nothing. I've called plenty of black people, right? So I'm
pretty sure most white people have used that word at some point in their life. Like, you're being ignorant if you assume that like there's a white person that's never used that word.
And do you know what I think is even crazier? I think the fact that black folks, like, that's gonna be a aha moment. Like, that's gonna make somebody impeach. Like white people are gonna impeach Donald Trump because he said he calls the black people Negro.
It would never happen.
Okay, so understanding that, black people, how do we succeed regardless of political affiliation? I got time for 2 calls. I'm going to go to Rodney.
Art.
Hold on. Art always on. Rodney. Blue 5.
Places, they don't care who's in government because they understand how the community works and the structure works. I'll say this real quick. As long as we believe that these people are our leaders and not our representatives, as long as we don't have clear-cut demands and a clear-cut agenda, it doesn't matter who you put there. You put an added stress on that person, expecting things that they cannot deliver, because we are not aware of the political system and how it works.
Thanks, Rodney. Art, you got the last one.
Yes, my question is, if our former president didn't do anything, what is Donald Trump and the Republican Party trying to undo? So I don't understand that. To me, it sounds very ignorant when people say that. Then,
hey, Art, let me ask you a question real quick. What has Trump reversed that has negatively impacted you?
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
What has Trump reversed that has negatively impacted you?
So far, nothing Trump has done personally to me that affect me at all.
Thanks, Art. That's exactly my point. Look, y'all, that's my point.
Goodbye, Art.
It's the WVON morning show. That's my point, y'all. It's like we fighting imaginary ghosts. We fight. Look, we are fighting. We are upset with Trump because of the immigration debate. No, Negro, that ain't what we mad about.
Yes, that's what some black people are mad about. Unfortunately,
The ones that speak for us.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Hey,
That's
y'all,
the problem.
It's the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. Y'all do not want to miss this next hour, this next half hour, because the Soul Plane is taking a trip to DC, and we're gonna talk to Amisha and Jasmine. Wait a minute, you blocked? When y'all got blocked? Let's talk about it when we come back. It's Talk Chicago 1690.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation. 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
Starting out cloudy and mild, we're headed toward a sunny 80. I'm in Flournoy, and in the headlines this morning, Omarosa.
I support my sisters and brothers.
Yeah, y'all. It's about to go. It's about to go down.
Hey, Tara. Stephanie, you said I can't assume all white people have used the N-word. I mean...
Stephanie, is this Stephanie Trussell?
Yeah.
That has to be Stephanie Trussell. She probably been saying it with him. Stop it. You know, Stephanie.
Come on now.
Okay, you got the
I grew up in
camera.
Alabama.
You can take the camera. You got the camera.
Okay, I grew up in Alabama. Look, listen. What I've learned is there's no difference between white people in the South and white people up here. The only difference is that white people in the South just tell you straight up, this is what it is. Whereas up here, they use little tactics and tricky stuff to, try and trick us. Hey, Tiger Lily. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We cannot assume that they haven't used it. We use it sometimes. But come on. A white person runs into a black person in traffic that cut them off. You think they're not using the N-word? All of us have probably experienced that at some point. Tiger Lily, you come get me. I mean, Darlene got my B's mixed up. All right, y'all. I'm in the den now, so I'm responding to all y'all comments because May said y'all was talking trash. Hey, Amber Marie Green, I see you in there. Oh, okay, Tiger Lily, my bad. I thought you was, telling them to get me, because y'all know I be in the den, just not as much because I'm crazy busy all the time. But look, one thing about me, I don't know, they say what everybody want to hear, but the reality is I care most about the black community. So that means I'm not with a Democratic Party or a Republican Party. I'm with black people and what's best for black people. That's why I love the den. Hey, Edward, Stephanie will defend white people quickly. Who is Stephanie? So, Stephanie Trussell, you believe, let's not say all, right? Do you believe that most white people have never said the N-word? Hey, Amber. radio host with 2 viewers. Why y'all don't like Stephanie? She called her Stephanie is a radio host.
Stephanie is on Stephanie be snitching on people. Stephanie be going in the. She was.
Really said she's a radio host with 2 viewers.
Oh, Tiger. Okay, so let me tell you, Tiger is the captain of the cross us, and you getting got.
Oh, okay.
Tiger is my social media assassin.
Social media assassin.
Right. She will, between her and Brother Patah, lightning and thunder, boy. Y'all know, like that's when we release the hounds. When Tiger Lily and Patah get on you, but Stephanie be tricking, right? So here's what Stephanie's trick is right now. So what Stephanie is trying to do is create rap beef right now, right? So she's trying to create beef with me so she could draw me out. So like, see, if I start tagging Stephanie, then she'll go from 2 viewers to 20, right? So what she does is she says these outlandish things that try to get us all emotional and upset. But once you realize the tactics, and let me just be clear, I like Stephanie, right? I've done her show numerous times. And before I was the host of the WVON morning show, Stephanie would regularly call me, and she's even invited me since. So I'm not tripping.
Have you been since you've been on the show?
No, but I will.
Oh,
I will.
okay.
I mean, she sent the inbox. I just been super busy.
Okay.
But I'm happy to go on her show. But what I'm not gonna do, and what I've learned is, a lot of people come on my page because right now, if you think about it, there's nobody that's as right. So if I come over here and start, now I got 110 people. I got 10,000. The show reaches 25,000 people a day, right? So now I'm over here with my 2, and what do I look like fighting with you with your 2? So my 100 and something come to look at your 2. Now you keep on typing, you keep on fighting, you keep on love me, hate me. You say everything sticks and stones may break my bones.
What is she, a Republican or something?
Yeah. But she's like the type of Republican that's like the Republican that goes into the room and be like, you know how those colored people are. I don't know what's wrong with them, right? Not the black Republican that's like, yo, I got to get my back. Look,
Right.
I'm a businessman. I'm over here. I don't listen to all that.
But also, we gotta have some black people that are the Republicans.
Right.
Republicans can fight for our votes the same way Democrats, how Democrats should be, but they don't have to fight. So.
Right. So much love and respect to Stephanie. It's just I don't like the way she goes about it. If she wanted to just say, hey, let's sit down and have a debate, or I'm really starting to try and gotta hit my song first. This my new jam. This the new 7 o'clock wake up. Y'all know nothing about that.
This don't sound like a new song at all.
Huh?
This don't sound like a new song at all.
This ain't new. This Prince.
Oh, I'm like.
Look at you youngin'.
Sorry, guys.
Ow, ow.
I am a little young. I didn't recognize this one. I'm a Prince fan.
You just young. You just a baby. That's all. You are tuned in to the Talk of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Y'all know how we do at the top of every hour. Got to say what's up to the WVON Morning Show team. Now, sitting in with me today is Jasmine Turner. Jasmine is the owner and proprietor of Black Match Made, which is a
Professional matchmaking service for African American professionals.
okay, yeah, professional. Now, y'all know how we got to do this, though. In the morning, we got to say what's up to the WVON Morning Show team. What's up to Annette Flournoy in the newsroom, as well as Miss Sonia Escobar, the musical conductor of the Soul Plane. Hey, y'all, now y'all know how we do on Mondays. We take the Soul Plane, has a layover in D.C. where we pick up our D.C. correspondent. Y'all know her, Miss Amisha Cross. Amisha, how you feeling this morning?
Good morning, Meg.
Hey, Amisha, Did you say good morning, Mace? Then you know we got in the studio as well, Miss Jasmine Turner. Do I sense tension?
It might be a little
I sense a little tension, but that's okay. Because it's all love. You know what? It's all black love here. And I am excited to have this conversation with two strong, dynamic black women. Amisha, talk to me about Omarosa.
So, Liz, as you know, I've been listening. The interesting thing here is that the conversation kicked off as if Omarosa just became an enemy of the black people. Black people have never rocked with Omarosa. When we look at her rise, a lot of it was endemic of her going against the grain as a black woman, as a black individual, and not being someone who could be put in a box. That scared a lot of people and pushed them away long before she ever became aligned with Trump.
So, Amisha, I kind of understand the Omarosas of the world. You know, it seems like it's not a lot of money a lot of times where the black people are, and a lot of opportunity. Because they really kind of push us into these social service programs and, you know, into the less than. But Omarosa was a champion of Donald Trump. And now she is saying that he is a racist and that he's used the word, he has treated her, and so she wrote a book. Sonia, do we have any, you know what, let me back up. Oh, we do? Let me hear what we got.
Who is the most prominent high-level advisor to the president on the West Wing staff right now?
African American?
Yes.
I would say that, well, first of all, you're totally not covering the fact that our Secretary of Housing and Urban Development and world-renowned...
I'm asking you about the White House staff. I'm asking you about the people the president is with every day.
Well, the president works with Secretary Carson every day. He's trying to break the back of the school.
Who there is on the White House staff right now?
And we have Jerron, who's done a fabulous job and he's been very involved with Jared Kushner and President Trump on prison reform at the beginning. He's been there from the beginning. He worked with Omarosa and others of us.
Does he have an office in the West Wing, Kelly?
He has an office in the EOP, absolutely. The Executive Office of the President, yes.
But not in the West Wing. What does that say to have not a single senior advisor in the West Wing who's African American?
I didn't say that there wasn't, but hold on. Excuse me. There are plenty of people. If you're going by that and not by the actions of the president, which you probably should, then you should look at the fact that we have a number of different minorities, and the fact is that this president is doing well for all Americans.
So, Amisha, now without Omarosa in the White House, we were talking about the social media question of the day just a little bit earlier. Who is representing us or our interests? Do you feel like Omarosa represented black interests in the White House?
I would argue that that's the wrong question, because many would say that Omarosa did not, myself included, did not represent black interests when she was there. Omarosa represented Omarosa's interests and moving up the ladder. That's what she was there for. She was happy to get tapped. She wound up walking into the White House earning 2.5 times the income that she had before she went to the White House. Omarosa was about Omarosa.
So now what? So now she writes, so she's left the White House. She recorded General Kelly. And she's got a book. Can Omarosa, for both of y'all, first of all, let's go back. Because Jasmine and Amisha, y'all said she was about climbing the ladder. Isn't that about what black,
I'm not mad at Omarosa. I don't think Omarosa did anything wrong. And from a friend that I have that's familiar with some of the things going on in the White House, Omarosa, according to this person, was actually acting on behalf of black people.
Can you do both, Amisha? Can she have possibly been doing both?
I agree with Jasmine to a certain extent. At the end of the day, there was a lot that Omarosa did to benefit self, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. However, there is something wrong with first announcing that, and we recall this when she announced that she left of her own free will. Now we know that she definitely did not. In addition to that, we can't point a marker to what she did in terms of black success and black progress. We can't look at anything that happened during her tenure in the White House and say, oh, that's a stamp that actually improved the black community or improved black life.
So can y'all tell me who we do have that's done that? Point to somebody.
Under this
No,
administration?
to point to me somebody in the last 20 years. Who do you point to as that person? Like who?
That's the problem. I can't think of anyone.
Who, like Amisha? You know, you're pretty well adept on DC too. Tell me who can we point to as the black people that have made a significant impact for black people while being in the White House? I'll give you Barack.
Honestly, Maeve, I don't think that we can point to anyone, because what has happened with the White House over the past 3 terms has been that everyone has always placed the role of improving the black community on the black caucus. Those members have never been a functional part of the White House. Therefore, there's never really been a strong question as to what we're doing here. Now, you can look at certain people who were heads of agencies who might have been able to do some things and who have. But in terms of core White House staff, there is no one.
So now
we have here in Chicago, LaShawn Ford has mentioned he's open to working with the president. So, I mean, obviously that's not a national thing, but from a Chicago perspective, we do have someone who was a black elected official that we know ideally cares about the black community, who said, you know what, I'll work with Trump.
So, Amisha,
but Chicago had to be on fire, and Chicago had to make major national news and have, 60 people shot within a 2-hour time block before that was stated by him as well. So I think that there's something to be said about things rising to the point of you can no longer contain it and control it locally to now where there will be an acceptance of help from anywhere.
So let me ask both of you all, do we try to replace Omarosa in the White House?
Absolutely.
I don't think we try to replace Omarosa. I think that we do increase the level of, or at least push the attention to having more black people there. I wouldn't call that an Omarosa replacement, though, because we do have to be real. This administration, as of modern presidents, has had the least amount of black people in leadership, period.
Here's the thing, though. Trump is not just going to work with anyone. He's shown us he don't care about your history in politics. He doesn't care what party you belong to per se. He's got some Republicans he won't even work with. So I don't think it's going to be easy to get one of those traditional black politicians in the White House to work with Trump. Trump is going to work with who he wants to work with. And I think
Trump says he's going to work with who he wants to work with. Of his current and former staff makeup, there was no one who didn't identify as conservative or libertarian in that White House.
Right, but he's not going. Some of these black politicians that have been with the Black Caucus forever, who have consistently been speaking against him, I don't see Trump working with that person. But an outsider who cares about the black community, like he went to the black preachers, unfortunately he went to Kanye, I see him pulling someone like that versus a traditional black politician. And so I think we have to be mindful of that and have someone prepared to take that role.
Yeah, both of you all, let me tell you, I'm concerned. Right? My concern is that we sit out the presidency again, right? So we sat with President Obama we said he's going to do it for us, right? And he was the Democrat. Now Trump is here and we saying he ain't going to do nothing for us. So we crossing our arms and sitting out. Amisha, Jasmine, both of you all, when y'all come back, I want y'all to think about and be ready to answer, how do we get our voices heard in the White House in spite through the racism? How do we get our voices heard? Amisha, Jasmine, we'll be back after traffic and the weather.
More of the morning show with Maze Jackson coming up on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Stephanie, you better stop. I'm going to read your stuff on air.
Patricia Hicks, a grandmother.
Stephanie, you better stop. You better stop.
I like Stephanie too. She don't care.
Stephanie, I'll read your joints on the air. You
Don't
did.
do it.
I'll read your joint, right? I'll be like, and Stephanie said, you are a small person. You are paid to lead your listeners down a certain truth. You will never stop tell them voting D because you are a paid lobbyist and consultant for them. Stephanie, everybody that I work for is fully disclosed. Can I be 100% clear? I am not a journalist. Is there anyone here who thinks that I am a journalist? No. You are talking to a paid political consultant who gives you perspective from the viewpoint of a person who would be using the same tactics and strategies to manipulate you.
That's the problem with black people. We think that everybody, all other communities, you think they're not using their influence to to sway their community in the direction that they want to do. That's what everyone else is doing, but we want to treat each other like, no, you gotta,
But that's the trick of the devil. Because let me tell you what the trick of the devil is. The trick of the devil is they tell you, now look, I tell you the eyeballs to use. So whether you see it and I'm doing it or somebody else is doing it, you still got the clear vision. But let me tell you what they trick you to do. They will point out the fact that you made, again, they will publish that you made, you got $91,000, 75,000 of which went to radio stations, right? So really, that didn't really come to me. But they will point that out as white boys make millions at the same damn time. And the white boys be like, look at him. Like, bro, I'm looking at the D2s. You just took $2 million. So PG and Greco has made $3 million off of JB in the last election cycle. And black folks, one white boy made $3 million.
What was he doing?
Mail and consulting.
Wow.
Meanwhile, they spent $100,000 a day. They spent over $40 million in media and commercials. They only spent $300,000 with a black media buying agency. Y'all.
They need the black vote. Like, JB needs the black vote. You know what's actually happening? JB has a few black consultants that might get paid six figures that bring him the black vote. We're not getting our piece of the pie. And so look, go get your money, Maze.
Huh?
Go get your money.
Oh, I'm not, let me just be clear. Ain't damn none of y'all. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm going to cut the deals to move to advance. I'm playing politics. I'm not playing altruism. The game is not to come out even. It's to come out ahead. Whatever, something that you never.
Something that you'll never be.
Better wake up. I'm so ready. Why?
It was like the frog in the hot water. You don't know that you're in that situation until it just keeps bubbling and bubbling. It's clear in hindsight, because hindsight, of course, is 2020. But as I talk about in Unhinged, you get to see from 2003, when I first met Donald Trump, the evolution of a very unique relationship between he and I. And I talked very, very intimately about the things that he said, his pledge to do more for the community, his, as I said, investment in my own career. But what I know now, I didn't have the benefit of in 2003 or 2004 or 2010. And so, yes, it is hindsight. But I will say this to you. I was complicit with this White House deceiving this nation. They continue to deceive this nation by how mentally declined he is, how difficult it is for him to process complex information, how he is not engaged in some of the most important decisions that impacts our country. I was complicit, and for that, I regret.
Yeah. Okay, you need to get done. You are tuned in to the Top of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Sitting in with me is Jasmine Turner. Jasmine is with Black Match Made, as well as, you know how we do on Mondays, DC correspondent Amisha Cross. Amisha, that what we just heard was Omarosa saying she was complicit in deceiving the country. So I guess my question for y'all, both of y'all, is, because y'all black women, y'all sisters.
Black girl magic.
Black girl, yeah, I love black. Let's see. So, does black girl magic apply to Omarosa for both of you?
To me.
Absolutely.
So she could come home?
Absolutely.
We don't. Oh, sorry, Jasmine.
Where'd she go? I have been a fan of Omarosa ever since she, went off on Bethany.
Bethany.
So,
Excuse me, who's Bethany?
Bethany Frankel.
Watch it.
Bethany, I'm sorry, so bring me up to speed. She was it a black person she snapped on?
It was a white girl.
And what she snapped on?
She told the white girl, she was like, I bet I'm here longer than you is. She said this show won't last like a year or 2 years or something like that. And I'd be doggone it if that show was not canceled. And Omarosa's still here.
So, Amisha, does black girl magic apply to her?
I definitely think black girl magic applies to her. I think we would have a problem as black women if we did not coalesce around that, because black girl magic is a banner of success. It is a banner of Black women being able to express their freedom, being able to have ideas, being able to step forward and shine. Whether we agree with her or not, we can't take away from her the fact that she's got to where she is based on her work ethic, based on the fact that she decided to go against the grain, based on the fact that she is a strong Black woman.
Okay, so do you all both think that, so will Omarosa be re-accepted in the Black community?
Omarosa's not going anywhere. She's never in her career since we've known her just allowed people to tell her where she can go and what she can do. So if she wants to continue to build her career in on TV or whatever it is that she's doing, politics, whatever, no one can stop Omarosa. They haven't been able to in the last 10 years. It's not going to start now.
Amisha?
I definitely think that Omarosa rose without being accepted by the Black community. Omarosa will still continue to be on her grind and push and not be accepted by the Black community. First and foremost, we have to recognize that Black people can be successful without the support of other Black people.
That's true. So do you think she is, will Omarosa's success be based on being the anti-hero? Right? Will her success always be based on being a villain? Because it seemed like they portrayed her, it seemed like the white folks portrayed her. I was kind of offended by the portrayal. One, they was like, what kind of person tapes their meeting? I'm like, are y'all talking about DC? This is the FBI. They tape everything.
But we're talking about people who probably have paid someone hundreds of thousands of dollars to address Omarosa, right? And so they already know that we have labeled Omarosa as the angry Black woman. So what they do, they come out and start using terms that makes her look like the angry Black woman. And they're doing their job. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. But I don't think Omarosa cares if you consider her an angry Black woman. Omarosa is doing well. She's accomplishing her goals. And at the end of the day, she got in the White House. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people wanted to.
Okay, so let me ask y'all. Do you think that we should try to advocate to put someone else Black in the White House?
I definitely think we should try to advocate to put someone else Black in the White House. There has to be an understanding, though, that Black person, I think that points to something you said earlier, Maeve, has to be someone who aligns and someone who understands Donald Trump. The reason that Omarosa was there wasn't because of any greatness based on Omarosa. It was because of a long-standing relationship with the president, and he trusted her. Now, something that we have not mentioned thus far isn't the fact that people are extremely, disturbed of the fact that she taped. A lot of people are taping him and taping others across the White House. It is that she did it in the Situation Room. That puts America at a very strong disadvantage just because of the level of conversation that is held within that room. For anyone to be able to go in and tape a conversation is scary.
Oh, you know what? I'm nervous now. So
we're talking about the room where there are discussions about our international interests. There are discussions about matters of war. You're not supposed to go in there with any type of electronic capability to tape, film, or anything. That's just how it's always worked.
I was wondering about that. Is that even legal to record someone and they're not aware of it?
I think it
depends on the state you're in.
And one party consent, but y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all, I think this is gonna be some fireworks. But I do think that we've got to figure out as Black people who becomes the Black Trump whisperer, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Reverend Darrell Scott got a crew, and they are saying there is a vacuum in the Black space. Trump is going to address Black issues in some way because he's just predictable. He's going to want to say to counteract it, I'm going to be the best, right? And so how do we manipulate that to our best self-interest? How are we going to, Amisha, how do we get economic benefits? And let me ask you a better question. Who is now representing Black self-interest on a national level from your perspective?
First of all, Maeve, that's a really good question, and you have to be able to play both sides. In this case, I would say that your leverage has to be more on the conservative side. I just spent the past week at the ALEC conference in New Orleans. There were 3 Black people at this entire conference of conservatives. At the end of the day, when you're talking about moving Black America forward, there are a lot of folks who are on that side who actually do want to have the conversation, who will actually bring you in around bills that they're thinking about proposing and the work that they want to do, but you have to be at the table. We have way too many black people who are only willing to talk to one side, and I think that that's hurting us.
I agree, Amisha. Who do you think would be that person?
At the national, well, I don't think there is anybody at the national level right now, and in terms of Democrats, because they're still on the resistance train.
But even if they're they're not with the Democratic Party, who's a black person in the country that cares about black people first, that has the ability to have access to Trump or gain access to Trump?
I was going to say Tim Scott, but they have a little bit of a fractured relationship. Right now, it would be business leaders and pastors.
And that's what I see happening. It's not going to be a politician. It's going to be someone outside of DC who is influential. And that could be someone in pop culture. That could be maybe a business leader. But I honestly see Trump, based on Omarosa saying he's on mental decline, I could see him trying to grab Kanye West for this.
Oh my God! You know who I could see him picking up?
Who?
Corey Brooks. Corey Brooks
lost a lot of his influence in Chicago, though.
Corey Brooks got some national influence. I'm gonna tell y'all. See, here's the problem. The fact of the matter is, if you castigate everybody, then it leaves them to pick. We've got to say that this person is credible to us no matter what. So I'm telling you that there are people like Corey who have the ear because they're willing to talk to conservative people and sort through it. It doesn't make a difference if they're credible.
No, are they willing to risk it all? Because we have someone like John Gray, right, who 20 years he has been working with the community, and we threw him away just for meeting with Trump.
Y'all threw everybody away. Hey, I'm curious, is it possible for us to even have representation without throwing somebody over the cliff? Look, Amisha, we got to get out of here. Tell people how they can find you every week.
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Amisha Cross.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our DC correspondent, Amisha Cross. So when we come back, we're going to talk about this plus Bud Billiken. Hey, could you unblock Jasmine? We'll talk about it all when we come back to the Talk of Chicago.
Teddy.
This news report is brought to you by Napa. This month only at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. We'll get it.
I was going to say bye, Amisha. I was going to say goodbye, Amisha, Black Girl Magic.
You can tell her she watching. You can tell her right there. She didn't say it, I said it.
One thing about Amisha that I've learned when we were Facebook friends is I just don't see her as a person that takes things like really personal like that. I don't even remember why we were unfriended or blocked or whatever on social media, but at the end of the day, like, she reminds me of a person that's going to do what she has to do to accomplish Amisha's goals. So I love that, and that's why I have no beef with Omarosa either. Once blocked, always blocked. Amisha, am I blocked or am I just unfriended? Right? And do you remember why? You always remember? Man, y'all are hilarious in the den, that's for sure. Reese. Amisha, we just had a Black Girl Magic moment, girl, in front of 25,000 people. Petty Girl Magic. That's right, D. Who else we have? We didn't have a Tania, we didn't have a Black Girl Magic moment? Did I miss it? I thought we were like, agreeing on some things, No? I missed it? That's what I'm talking about, Amber. You saw the moment. I'm sure you felt that magic too. Sounded professional. No magic, no nothing. I must have missed it. Because I thought everything was all good. I hadn't talked to Amisha probably before she moved, actually. Tamika. True, that's true. We didn't say goodbye. Amisha didn't even speak to me. She was like, hello, Maze. Tennille, I was going to say goodbye, but, you know, Maze had to do his messy thing, so I didn't get a chance to say it. It was just my imagination. Man, first of all, y'all not about to have me out here begging for anybody to be my friend on Facebook, Tennille. Nah, if she want to be friends again, she can send me a friend request. No, Tasha, I'm not blind. I guess I'm just optimistic a little bit. No, for real, y'all, I honestly don't know why we're not friends on Facebook anymore. I think it was something about like
some black match made stuff.
No.
I bet I know what it was.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You
want me to tell you who it was?
Who?
I'm gonna tell y'all because I met them. They all interacted through the same person, but I won't speak on it. I'm gonna just tell y'all though. That's what I think it is. I ain't gonna say who, but I'm gonna tell y'all.
No, that's not.
Go ahead. Look, she know what I'm talking about though. Look, right around the same time. I'm gonna stop.
No.
I know. They don't think I know, but I know. Yeah, I know.
No, that's definitely not it.
I knew it. I knew it.
So wrong, exactly.
I knew it.
That's definitely not it. It was, I'm gonna tell you what it was.
Go ahead.
I said something about Barack Obama. I just remembered it. I said something about Barack Obama on my page. And Amisha was like, man, I'm about to start unfollowing people. She commented. And I was like, well, just unfriend me.
Oh my God. Are y'all going at it on? Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
That had nothing to do with HIM. Oh God. You know the funny thing about it is,
Go ahead. Yeah.
You are so messy, man.
Who, me?
Messy.
Yeah, I didn't say a word. I didn't say a name. I didn't say anything. Guys, I know these things though. I'm telling y'all,
No,
it's like
it's not about him though. It was.
I'm gonna do it. I think that might come out in one of my stream of consciousnesses. So then be tuned in for the next stream of consciousness. You knew it, Jeff. I knew it too, man. I'm telling you.
Wait, you gonna do what on your stream of consciousness?
Yeah, I might be the secret. That might be one of the things that revealed in my.
No, y'all, it really was not over a guy. Maze is trying to make it seem like it was over a guy, but it's definitely not over a guy. It was a Facebook argument, yeah.
See how Facebook do you?
But
no, it's really a
Facebook
argument.
I cross paths on a particular
Look,
guy that Maze
see?
was talking about.
See? See? I told you. I knew it.
But I think, nah, I don't know what level, you know.
Is this me? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Hit up. Let me set it up. And whatever comes my way.
Messy Monday on the WVON.
Huh?
Messy Monday is what we're calling it today.
You are tuned in to the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson, and sitting in with me today is Miss Jasmine Turner. You know Jasmine from Black Match Made. Now, Jasmine, what do you do at Black Match Made again?
I am a matchmaker, but I'll come back the rest of the week if you want me, 'cause I know you just love when you pick on me the whole time.
You know what? You get to talk to program, and I don't got a lot of votes, but I'm gonna tell you, we did have a great conversation. And I'm looking forward to continuing. Look, hey y'all, this weekend was Bud Billiken. Now, for the first time in about 10 years, I did not actually go to Bud Billiken. I actually watched on TV. Shout out to Commissioner Carrie Steele. She rocked it on the Bud Billiken parade. And shout out to all the dance crews and all of the marching bands and everybody that was out there. But, sometimes with everything, shout out to Maiti Singstack too, for Bronzeville Magazine, and they reported that 1.5 million people were at the Bud Billiken Day Parade. 1.5. Wow. So Bud Billiken is the largest black parade in the country. It used to be the only parade bigger. Only used to be bigger was the Rose Bowl Parade. I don't know where we rank now, but sometimes when you watch the parade and you watch TV, you miss a lot of the other action that's going on. Well, apparently, Chicago's own Vic Mensa, who was also one of the parade's grand marshals, ran into a little drama. Now, mind you, he was the grand marshal of the parade. Sonia, do we have some audio from that? Can we go to that?
Set it, cover up. We're moving. 15 shots. 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 15 shots.
Apparently, Grand Marshal Vic Mensa led a group of protesters. Grand Marshal led a group of protesters, and they began chanting 16 shots, and they wanted to see, they claimed that they wanted Jason Van Dyke not charged, but sentenced. And the Chicago police threatened to arrest Vic Mensa as a grand marshal.
That's a problem.
1.5 million black people on the streets. And they come to our parade where our grand marshal, one of ours, decides to speak up in a peaceful but poignant protest. And the CPD enters the parade and tells them to stop and threatens to shut them down, arrest him, tow his vehicle. Look, so you know what? But there was someone there who was there to intervene and stop it all. And I see this sister so much. I used to see her down in Springfield. I see her on Facebook. I see her at all the active events. And she was there to mediate the situation. And I got on the live line. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WVON morning show. LaVon Nicole Pettis. LaVon, how are you this morning?
Hey, good morning, Maze. How are you?
I'm great. So it's great to have you on. Tell me what exactly happened on Saturday with Vic Mensa, because you were right there. I saw you in the video.
Well, I was in the audience on the side, the east side of the street at 51st and King Drive. And I noticed Vic when he first went through the parade as the Grand Marshal, because he led the first, and then I saw Dion coming in much later. And so at 51st, there were a lot of things happening. One, by the time the dancers hit us, they were tired. It was really hot. They were probably dehydrated. So we weren't getting a lot of activity. And then I started to notice political groups kind of dropping out of the procession at 51st. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's happening. And that's when I saw Vic coming up again on his motorcycle, this time with protesters behind him. What happened was that the police, I heard them, I've got some bionic ears, supersonic. I heard the police say to Vic, what are you doing back here? You're the Grand Marshal. You went through already. Why are you back here? And the crowd had began to pick up the chant of 16 shots. The next thing I noticed, the police had Vic sequestered, and the conversation I could see from body language and everything was very intense and hostile. And so I left my post where I was stationed, and I came into the parade, and I just tried to, I just didn't want to see any violence happening, any trauma, or Vic Mensa or anyone being arrested or anything happening that could damper the spirits and cause more trauma on the youth of Chicago. There was one white shirt police officer who was willing to trust in me because I heard them running my background as I was approaching. And I was just, really adamant, hey, I think I can negotiate and resolve this situation. Some of the officers wanted Vic to move. Others were telling him not to move. So he was getting conflicting information. And because they had him surrounded in that way, and because it was about maybe 10 to 15 white shirts, and then the blue shirts were coming forward because you could tell it was a commotion, I could see a lot of confusion on Vic's face. And I heard him tell them multiple times, "Will arrest me." And I'm thinking, nah, brother, we don't need you to go to jail, and we don't need you to be dragged out of this parade or state force used against you in this parade. And I just kept thinking about the children and the families. And so I tried to distract Vic as well as, I'm receiving a little bit of conversation from the officers of them telling me, what are you doing here? And I'm trying to let them know, hey, if he could just go for it. I'm trying to convince Vic, please just finish this parade. Keep going, keep marching, stay focused, don't get distracted, and don't fall into any kind of, ploy to make them use force against you.
LaVon.
It took a while.
Jump in. Hold on, LaVon.
LaVon, first of all, thank you for being the person to step in and not being afraid to, balance things out there. But what was the police saying to Vic? What were they telling him he was doing wrong?
They were saying that he had come back around for the second time. That's what they were saying he was doing wrong.
Everybody comes back the second time, though. The politicians come back the second time all the time, right? They go ride their cars, and then they go back to the inn and they ride with their floats. Why couldn't he come back the second time?
I don't know, but this is what they were telling him. And they were telling him to move, and another officer was telling him not to move. You see what I'm saying? So he was one was on one side saying, move right now, and the other one was saying, don't you go anywhere. Yeah. And so he was confused. There were bikes that were used to keep his bicycle from moving. His motorcycle, they put bicycles against him. So there's a lot of things you don't see on the video. It went on for about another 7 to 10 minutes.
It did.
At least, but I was, just trying to keep him focused, move forward, keep going, move past all these families, all these people, keep going.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is LaVon Nicole Pettis. We saw her in the video. She mediated the disruption between the Chicago police and our very own Vic Mensa. LaVon, I just want to tell you, thank you for being there, mediating, and having a cooler head, because I know sometimes people want to take it up, but that was not a place to take it up. It was a place to take it down, so our kids can have a great have a great Bud Billiken. So thank you for what you did. We'll be back, guys, after traffic and the weather.
More of the morning show with Maze Jackson coming up on the Talk of Chicago. 1690
Jasmine got one
WVON.
too.
Nothing ruins a backyard barbecue like wasps attacking your guests.
Huh?
You
Camilla?
in your comments, yeah, she said.
Camilla Williams, I got you.
What happened to the?
Welcome to the hood.
Yeah, she said they tried to put him out.
So people want to play games with the morning show, man. Yours was very suspicious, man. Because yours was very suspicious because of the way it came apart.
Right. It came apart from this.
Yes.
Right, it didn't come from the
I
script.
noticed.
They be trying to get me. It's a CON conspiracy against Maze. Who is Tara Adams? I don't know Tara. Welcome, Tara.
She's been on a lot though. Or he, sorry.
Welcome. What up, Sean J? What up, Camilla Williams? Camilla said Vic came back to defend us because he invited us to walk with him. Oh, okay. They tried to put us out the minute. Okay, got you. I'll share that. I know, Tanil. I'm just release the hounds.
Release the hounds. What Neil say?
Oh, Tanil is I like to be petty sometimes, and Tanil is like rise above.
Sometimes you like to be petty.
I enjoy
every now and then.
I enjoy pettiness sometimes.
Really?
So it's like
so you admitting this. Everybody see it and everybody
I do.
hear it.
I do.
Look, so now next time y'all know Messy Mondays with Maze, because you definitely just tried to start some stuff with me and Amisha.
I didn't. You started it. That wasn't over me. That was over. Let me tell y'all. So stay tuned for the next, what do I call it? Stream of consciousness. That might show up in the stream of consciousness conversation. I might have it in my mind. I might have to break it down. Y'all know, but
You like Jasmine and Amisha both dated the same person at some point in their lives.
Is that what I didn't even know that wasn't even going. That's not where I was going. You did? Ooh.
Where are you going?
That's not where I was going. What happened?
Where are you going?
That's not where I was going. Where was you going? Who y'all date? Yeah. Who did y'all date at the same time? Y'all dated somebody at the same time in y'all lives?
At the same time. Not at the same time.
You didn't think? No, I'm just joking. Look, that was just jokes. Jokes, only jokes, people.
Not at the same time.
I think it's pretty awesome that she has to write paragraphs about me this early in the morning. That's why I wanted to share it. It was so prosaic. Guys, Stephanie is taking her 2 viewers and leaving.
Reese. Poor Mark McDonald. You right, Tiger Lily.
All right. Hey, y'all. So does anybody, I'm just going to be just a little, diverge. I really do think Jay-Z is wearing a wig. Like, seriously, that would break my heart if he was wearing a wig.
Why?
Because if he was wearing a wig, then it would be,
Why don't you like the kind, loving, marriage-minded, family-minded...
No, I enjoy, don't get it twisted.
Positive, take back your community. Why don't you like that? That's the Jay-Z we need.
I don't dislike that Jay-Z. Right?
You should say a loyal 2 is better than nothing, I guess.
Wait. Oh, what's that? We're back. You are tuned in to the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Sitting in with me is Miss Jasmine Turner. She is with Black Match Made. We're talking about the Blood Billiken Day Parade. Vic Mensa. So my girl Camilla Williams is saying that Vic Mensa actually invited. Now Camilla and her group are a group of young millennials that have been very active in all aspects of the fight against what's happened since Laquan McDonald. I see her working with Robin Kelly, but I also see her leading young groups of people. I know she's all over, and she was saying that they were invited, a limited number of them were invited to participate in the parade by Vic Mensa. And as soon as they unveiled the Jason Van Dyke banner, then the police immediately approached them, and Vic, who invited them into the parade, rode back to stand with his people, and it escalated from there. Now let me just say this. The Blood Billiken Day Parade is our day. That's our parade. We can protest. There was no outbreaks of violence. I didn't hear no shootings. I didn't hear about no stampedes. I didn't hear about nothing bad. A young man was shot 16 times by the CPD. And the fact that they have the ability to come to our parade in our neighborhood and approach our young people who are peacefully expressing their outrage for their peer is unacceptable. And I want our people to recognize that it's like white people expect, I posted this earlier, white people expect white privilege even at black events. Hey, to those police officers, you don't get no vote on how we feel about this.
Still in a white country, just because it's a black event, it's still in a white country.
And that's what they tried to say. Apparently, that was like, you Negroes done got out of pocket. Oh, okay. Well, Regina says I'm only seeing one side of the story. Regina, what did I miss? Regina?
Yeah.
Hey, Regina, talk to me. What did I miss, sis?
Hey. No, I mean, I think you raise good points. However, you have to see through the eyes of law enforcement at times, and that is that, you mentioned earlier that there was approximately 1.5 million attendees at the parade. I mean, that could have easily went bad. That's incitement. I mean, people could have gotten violent over, and the police are there. So I don't think that was the proper stage to do something like that. I'm not saying that it's not warranted, but I just think that wasn't the time or place to do something like that.
So when you say incitement, I mean, you don't think, so you're saying that they should not have been able to say 16 shots and roll a banner? What was inciting? The killing or the remembrance of the killing?
The people. I mean, you're here for a good time. I mean, you're here, it's a parade. I mean, you're not here. That was not the stage to do that.
Says
because you got 1.5 million people, and now the police are here, and now you're bringing up all of these bad things that took place. And I mean,
Regina,
it's already going through the process.
Regina, wouldn't that be the best stage to do that? If you have 1.5 million people there and we're trying to bring awareness to the violence on black male bodies by Chicago Police Department, isn't that the best stage to do it? Why do we want to protest and people to make people comfortable? It's supposed to make people uncomfortable. That's the purpose.
But it wasn't the stage for a protest.
Okay.
I mean, if you got 1.5 million people there, let's say 500,000 of them want to get revenge on the police.
So you're saying
it's time to protest? Regina, when is it time to protest?
Say that again?
When is the best time to protest? When and where?
When it makes white people comfortable. Or when the police
No, not necessarily when it makes white people comfortable, but I mean, right now is a good time to protest.
On a Monday morning when
they're downtown.
Okay.
You got a crowd of all these children, and they could have easily gotten out of control. Let's say the police get violent again with the people because now Vic is a part of this protest and causing problems. Now the police want to get violent with him, and now people in the crowd want to get back at the police for getting violent with him. I mean, things just could go. You have to think about if I do this, what if it don't go the way I plan? What if it goes the opposite direction? And all these children are out here at this parade.
Got it. Okay, Regina, well, let me tell you this. And you know, I got a lot of friends that are law enforcement officers. When I go get my hair cut, let me tell you, as soon as I sit down in the chair, the police be like, "Hey man, let me tell you something." I got the sheet around the guy got the razor to my neck, and I'm like, "Oh, listen, whatever you want to say, officer." No, but I do have friends in law enforcement who will talk about this situation, and there's a mentality. But I think it can't be an us against them, and I think when police descend on the black community in Chicago for the Bud Billiken parade, they need to be prepared. Hey man, y'all been killing people all year. Every week we got a story of somebody getting killed, so you could not get it, but you need to be on your P's and Q's because you stepping on our land. This is Talk Chicago 1690. We'll be back after news, traffic, and weather with Gary McCarthy.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation. 1690
So I think this is a good conversation that will flow into McCarthy.
He already called in.
Hey, I ain't folks. Take a moment, shut the broadcast. I'm just saying that should have been a protest. All right, y'all, take a moment, share the broadcast. Go ahead, you can talk to the people. So, you got the camera. You can respond to
my people.
Yes. 60%, y'all.
No,
60.
Man, Maze, you are so messy. Can we move on from that? Who is a Rome supporter? Jerry, you said quite a few children were lost during the Bud Billiken parade. That's a tradition. Hi, Tara. Hi, Jeff Johnson. Ralph, who is the Rome supporter? Are you talking about Regina?
This video, which lasts about 30 seconds, you can clearly see the officer shoving and then punching this man repeatedly. More than
Who has a handkerchief on their hair?
to the ground, pins him down with his arm across his neck. There were maybe 24 members from the Unite the Right marchers, and then on the other side there were.
Oh, okay. Regina. Yeah. But the reality is, all black people are not family. That's just the reality. Just because somebody black don't mean they care about black people most. In fact, I believe most of our politicians, they say they care about black people most, but if you really look at what they're doing, they're focusing on everybody but black people. Henry Hartsville, okay, I'll add you once the show is over.
All right. What's up, y'all? We back in the building. And we back on the block. See, I need a young Martin in his, hey, look, I need the OJ. When I go to the Jay-Z concert, you know what? But I didn't go to the Jay-Z concert. I went to the Carters. But so we're clear. The Carters is Beyonce with a guest appearance by Jay-Z. It's like Jay-Z has some features.
This is Beyonce. This goes back to what you mentioned earlier about the girl Stephanie, how you have this following and Stephanie got her loyal 2 followers. And I'm not saying Jay-Z has a loyal 2 followers, because I like Jay-Z too. But the reality is that Beyonce is much, much, much bigger than Jay-Z. His peak time has passed a little bit. So, I mean, you know, she's putting her on.
Jay-Z is a different kind of boss now. Jay-Z is like, he's an owner. Let's be clear. Jay-Z is an owner now. Jay-Z has entered into the sports game. Jay-Z is making multiple millionaires, right? He's teaching the players how to spend their money so that they could be rich later. Y'all don't get me started. Jay-Z is the God. Beyonce can never hope to even. All she can hope to do is get that shake it. She got to shake it fast. If she can't shake it fast, do you think she's gonna be a multi-billion-dollar executive? What happened to what's the clothes she used to have?
You know what?
What's the name of her clothing line?
House of Darion.
Where's that?
Same place Rockaway is at.
Huh?
Same
Rockaway went with. We don't do that no more.
Same place. They was on at the same time.
No, they wasn't. No. And Rockaway was dang.
No, and she also has a line with one of those other companies.
Ivy Park.
Ivy Park, or whatever. That's with Macy's, right?
You say Gary's coming, right?
He did say he was coming. I don't know if he's calling or. Oh, he's on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Boom!
I must have missed the call in between calls.
It's right there. The God MC. He is the God MC. Sorry, y'all.
You and Carrie trying to be the political Jay-Z
Ho!
and Beyonce.
We are the political Jay-Z and
Carrie's the
Beyonce.
one in office though. She the one, got that light right on. That's why you taking it so personal, man.
Mm-mm.
That's why you taking it personal, because you like, look at us. You see Carrie the one, she in the parade, she's the one in office, all of that. That's why you taking it so personal. Now it makes sense.
Look, that's why Carrie's silent. I'm not even tripping. Carrie, let me just tell you this. Carrie made her own name. Carrie's elected well before we got married.
Like Beyonce was.
Right. But
Beyonce
together,
was
right? You know what I'm saying? Behind the scenes, like women need a stick.
What do you mean?
They need a.
Man, you know the Common video was from 2015?
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I just wanted to make sure you know. So
I didn't know that.
I thought it was fresh, and Sonya just pointed that out to us.
Oh, I thought it was fresh too.
Okay.
We'll play it. We still gonna play it though.
Okay.
I'll play it. I just won't do it.
Got fired.
Huh?
He was right after he got fired.
Okay. No, I think it's teamwork. I think that Carrie is tremendous and she could do whatever she does without me, and she wouldn't. And Carrie was, like I said, was elected and successful before. She is a child of a political family. Her father was an alderman, a judge, all of that. So her political chops, she's president of Young Dems, all of that. I think that what I see us as is not so much Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I would like to see us more like Carville and Matlin, right? Which is George Carville and Mary Matlin. She is political, he is a political consultant. They disagree, right? Publicly, but they still, like, you mess with her, he'll turn into the devil against you. We don't agree on a lot of stuff because, again, you got to think, Carrie is, she's a active member of the Democratic Party. Now, we have a lot of the same philosophy. Her premises work inside, mine is work outside. But she pays a double price because people inside get mad at her for what I say, but I don't get a vote in the boardroom. She don't get a vote on what goes on in the station. Right. People would like to think that, right? But what I think we saw in this last election cycle was that they tried to punish her for me. And really? But she was such a strong candidate, right? They couldn't touch her. And, it's like they made her work. And we had to work extra hard, but Carrie wouldn't take anything for granted. And so we'll talk about it though.
I love it. It's Black love.
That's why I was so excited about what happened at Bud Billiken, because I wasn't there at all. And it was like they stole the whole damn thing. Sonya! Jasmine, where your yoga at?
You know I'm not.
You don't got no yoga? You ain't coming back. We gonna have to put you out. You're losing.
That Rihanna was on, man. I know how to work though.
What?
Omarosa just released another tech firm shop.
You are tuned in to the Talk of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson, and you know how it goes at 8 o'clock. When you hear yoga, you know I gotta get my stretch on. Now, But you know, I also got to say what's up to the WVON Morning Show team. Got to say what's up to Jasmine Turner. She is sitting in with me. She is, you know what? Jasmine is from Black Match Made. Jasmine, what do you do over at Black Match Made?
I help single African American professionals meet other quality single professionals.
How much that cost though?
It costs a little bit.
It's in the thousands. How what you get? What you get for like $12.99?
You get to visit my website.
All right, y'all. That is Jasmine Turner. But you know, gotta say what's up to the WVON Morning Show team as well. What's up to Annette Flournoy in the newsroom, as well as the musical conductor of the Soul Plane. Hey, y'all. So I know y'all get mad at me every time I call my man G Money up. But every time I feel like he's been out of the news for a little while.
Right, this your boy? You said my man? That's your boy?
That's my boy. You know, I'm gonna tell you, I like G Money.
Oh,
like
God.
I like G Money because he is straight shooter. Check it out.
Y'all heard that?
Yeah, then you heard it. I told y'all. I don't hide from the people that I like. Everybody not gonna always get it right, but G Money. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say G Money, I'm talking about Gary McCarthy, the former superintendent of the CPD, who is now a candidate for mayor. Now, I told y'all I like G Money just because the mayor, if Gary McCarthy is in a debate with Rahm Emanuel is going to have the proverbial frog's tail because he gonna be walking around tight. He gonna have a tight walk because no matter what happens, Gary McCarthy is gonna be standing in the background. You knew, dog. You knew.
Exactly.
But with this spate of violence that is taking hold of Chicago, with the shutdowns of the Lakeshore Drive, the Dan Ryan, and the future potential shutdown of O'Hare Airport, as well as the Kennedy, I thought it was the perfect time to get G Money back on the air. But then I saw the meme. Y'all, it was a meme from Gary McCarthy.
I haven't seen it.
Challenging the mayor to a one-on-one debate in a public forum on crime and violence. Me and you, mano y mano.
Did Gary McCarthy put the meme on?
Yes. You got to follow him on Twitter, man. You got to follow him on Twitter. It's on my page.
He's not my man, so
He not.
I
Well,
haven't followed.
can I tell you something though? Let me tell you. See, the thing is, Jasmine, you got to build relationships.
I'm open to listening.
So you got to follow everybody that's in the game so you can know what's going on.
I'm open to listening to what Gary has to say, and I'm looking forward to it.
So let's do it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I've talked long enough. On the live line, former police superintendent Gary McCarthy. Gary, welcome back to the WVON Morning Show. Hey, man, I thought you was going to be in the studio with me, man.
Hey, good morning, man. Sorry. Life's a little difficult around here with the 21-month-old son. Trying to get everybody out the door and to work and to daycare and so on and so forth. But thanks for having me on again, man. I miss it.
Hey, man, I appreciate having you on. So, Gary, real talk, man, I saw the meme. I saw Sneed. You're challenging Mayor Rahm Emanuel to a one-on-one debate over crime and violence. What's up with that, man? Talk to me.
So I call it less of a challenge and more of an offer because there is no crime strategy, and that's pretty evident from what's been happening in the city over the recent past. You know, I've been keeping track, and you keep hearing people talk about how murders are down and so on. I've been keeping track of my last 3 years as superintendent, in other words, 2013, 14, and 15, versus what's happened in 2016, 17, and 18. And there's about 400 more murders over the last 3 years. Now, if somebody thinks that's murder being down, then I don't even know what to say. So it's obvious that there's no strategy, especially when you have a weekend like last weekend where it blows up, and suddenly what we're going to do is we're going to rob from Peter to pay Paul. Well, we should have had that in place before. You know, this is completely reactive instead of proactive. There's tried and true methods out there to get this job done, and we've abandoned it here in Chicago based upon politics. And it's just not okay. So I am actually offering my services as an individual. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but the bottom line is everybody knows across the country in criminology circles that I'm one of the foremost architects of crime reduction strategies. Did it for 7 years in New York, did it in Newark, New Jersey. And when I was here, we had 50-year lows in murder rate, big reductions in crime, big reductions in officer complaints, big reductions in arrests, but getting better results because it wasn't about locking everybody up. Chicago thinks that it's just about putting officers in places where we need them. Well, that's true. But by the same token, it's more important what those officers are doing and whether or not there's a strategy to actually combat the gun violence.
So, Gary, what would
and
your
just to put a point on it, Maze, my right-hand guy who came here with me is now in Wilmington, Delaware, Bob Tracy. Using the methods that we put together over the years, he's already got a 50% reduction over 2 years in the shooting rates here in Chicago compared to where they were in Wilmington. They never replaced Bob Tracy when he quit. There is nobody in the department who is solely focused on crime reduction. And that's where it starts. Yeah. So there's no playing going on. And I can't stand by and watch this. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with an open forum, because I want to hear the strategy, and I want to talk to people and listen to people, and I want to give some thoughts on what needs to be done.
Gary, so we obviously all want to see crime reduced in our communities, but in general, there's an issue with our relationship with the Chicago Police Department. So for a lot of us who, when we hear your name, the first thing we think about, of course, is Laquan McDonald, right? So how do you speak to potential voters like myself who hear your name, automatically hear Laquan McDonald, follow that, and then how can we trust you to do it in a way that builds relationships between the police department and the African American community?
I call it truth-telling, which is something that's just not happening here in Chicago. The truth about the Laquan McDonald issue and that shooting has it that I was accountable, but I didn't have authority. And I mean, we could go through the whole thing, but the short story is the cover-up of that video happened entirely in City Hall by Rahm Emanuel's attorney, Steve Patton. I was completely unaware of it. I was not allowed to do the investigation that was done by an outside civilian agency. The only thing I could do was put Van Dyke on paid desk duty, and that's by Illinois state law. So, you know, that has to be out there. And I have the transcripts from the testimony of Steve Patton lying to the City Council Finance Committee. That is the entirety of the cover-up. That happened when the mayor was in the runoff with Chuy Garcia. And I think there's a criminal case that can be made there. So that's first of all. Second of all, you can't change 400 years of history. And nobody is addressing the social economic divide that exists, which is the source of the anger. The distrust comes because over those 400 years, the racist laws that were in vogue in this country, including Jim Crow and segregation, were enforced by the white police officer. So we've got to have some very difficult conversations about race, which I've been having. Nobody wants to talk about race. Nobody wants to talk about the social economic divide or the anger that exists in the disenfranchised, difficult communities who are suffering through poverty, hopelessness, lack of education, all those things that we know. Lead in the water, which is another topic we got to talk about here in Chicago. We're going the way of Flint, Michigan right now.
Gary,
but all of those things have to be talked about instead of screamed about. We have to get behind closed doors or do it out in open and have these difficult conversations to recognize where we came from so that we can figure out where we're going to go.
Gary, it seems like you've been talking to some black people, man. We have to talk.
Who are you talking to, Gary?
I know, Gary.
Who gave you those talking points? Maze did.
No, Maze didn't.
Gave you those talking points.
I promise you I didn't. And you know what? We got a video. Check this out, though, Jasmine. When we come back, we got a video from 2015 where Gary was talking those same points with Chicago's very own Common. Now, I think maybe he could have got... Now, I also want to let y'all know, I was wondering, is Common endorsing you? And speaking of endorsements, man, did I see you got endorsed by Andrew Holmes? We're going to talk about that. Plus, Gary, I'm saying, man, can we... I see you challenge the mayor to a debate. You think we can get him to do it on WVON? Considering that
well, let's see if we can get it to do it, first of all. If he wants to do it on VON, that's great with me.
Hey, let's do it. Look, it's Talk Chicago 1690. We'll be back. We're talking to former CPD Superintendent Gary McCarthy.
More of the morning show with Maze Jackson coming up.
Again, guys.
On the Talk of Chicago.
Here's the issue.
I mean, Gary talking some.
Here's the issue. See, again, right now y'all trying to pick between who is the better white boy, right? I don't think none of the white boys love us.
Of course not.
Okay?
Why? What? We have black candidates. Why do we have to choose between who's the better white boy?
Hold on, but let me get there. So let me wind up. So first of all, my enemy's enemy is my friend. So if you take from the fact that Rahm and Gary McCarthy will probably be in the same pool or a piece of it, what you're really right now trying to do is pull pieces off of Rahm to get him, to stop him from getting to 50. So the first thing you got to do is keep him under 50. So you got to keep him, you got to keep all these other candidates standing up, right? A thinner race hurts Rahm at a certain point. Now, you can't get it too thin, but you want to keep him propped up so somebody could punch him, right? But if you take out everybody, like right now, guys, you don't want Gary McCarthy to go away because he's going to keep the Laquan issue forefront, and he's going to be a credible voice all the time. So imagine standing on the podium, and there's a debate. Carol Marine, blah, 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 blah. No, Carol. Laquan was one of the worst things that ever happened. And Gary, former Mr. McCarthy respond, it's a lie. You, Steve Patton, blah, blah, blah. So now Ron is walking like this every time. Right? And this may be criminal. So now the headline is McCarthy calls Ron criminal, complicit in cover-up. Right? Those are the stories that then hit, that are then being covered. You want the guy to be weak. Gary McCarthy may never get over the top, but you want him to say the things that ain't no black folks gonna say.
Do you think he really wants to win, or he just wants to make sure Ron doesn't win?
I don't care. I don't care, right? It's like, my thing is, what's the end goal? The end goal is to decide who that person is. Now, the first thing is, how do you combat $24 million in cash? You gotta have everybody going in one direction saying it's gonna be a fight, right?
Right.
So I'm looking at, I'm not, fuck the altruism. I mean, excuse me, screw the altruism. I'm literally on, so right now, everybody in Rahm's camp is sitting around listening to the radio like, oh my God.
Right, because Gary's talking about people about, and then we just brought people.
Now, at some point, he's gonna have to address us, right?
You don't think Ron has?
No, not at all. I think Rahm is going to have to, I think you got to make him come off. He's going to still try and be Rose Garden and show up at the ward organizations and hope that carries him. You got to pull him off the pedestal and to a point where he has to come down. They haven't allowed him to come down. Think about a song. Oh, wait, is this the 10? Oh, we may not be doing the choice. So, again, I'm looking at how do we get to the primary, right? And before, all of this doesn't count until we get to the runoff.
Right.
And then you got to make a hard choice. As long as all of the people coming out of the pie are coming out of Rahm's bucket, you're good. I'm going to say something and then we'll go. You are tuned into the Talk of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Mace Jackson. Sitting in with me today is Miss Jasmine Turner. Now, Jasmine, we have on the live line Gary McCarthy. Gary, you just said some things about the conversation that we had. I mean, what you know about the history of slavery, man, and the role of the police? That seems like it's some real deep stuff you're talking about, the role. Because, you know, I think of the police as the enforcers of white codes, the enforcer of white supremacy in a lot of cases. And have we ever talked about that?
No. And you're absolutely right. Those lynchings that happened down south years ago, a lot of those people were handcuffed, and we've all seen the pictures, and we know what that means. So at the end of the day, Policing has a well-deserved distrust in the African-American community, but it's not being addressed. And I'll tell you what, body cameras are not going to overcome 400 years of racist laws.
So what
And
will,
I think
Gary?
we've already seen this. So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jasmine.
No, I wanted to know, what do you think would help overcome these 1,200 years of racial issues between the police department and the African American community?
Frank conversation, and stop trying to. One of the things that I used to talk about all the time is, we talk about Chicago being a segregated city. It was built this way, redlining. We all know the history. But then what we do is we kind of insist on it, don't we? We want black commanders and black officers in African American neighborhoods. Now, I understand the emotional decision there, but the practical decision has that we have to have exposure if we're going to get over race. We got to start looking at each other in a different light. We got to start focusing on what makes us the same, which is our values, versus what makes us different, which is the way we look. Because I know that you want for your children what I want for my children, and our parents want it for us. And we've really got to change focus here. We've really got to have these difficult conversations about how we got here, which is how we're going to figure out a path to move forward.
Gary,
but nobody wants to talk about this.
So Gary, you know what I tend to look at people with side eye when it's election time, and they start coming with these, we've got to talk about the black people, and because now it's the pandering time. But
Trump said the same thing.
He said, but you know what, Jasmine? This week also I got a tweet that reminded me of something that Gary said maybe in 2015.
What'd he say?
With one of our very own. Let's go to the audio, Sonia.
And if you go back 300, 400 years, it starts with slavery, which was written into the Constitution of the United States. And you move from slavery to black codes to segregation to Jim Crow. Now, who was it who was doing the enforcement of all of those racist policies? It was the white policeman. Right. Right? You don't see a prosecutor every day. You don't see a judge. You don't see a sheriff. You see a police officer on the street. But we're missing the iceberg, right? Because only the tip of the iceberg is showing.
It's hard to believe. Chicago's former police superintendent just told me that the police don't have a race problem. America has a race problem. The police are only the face of it. I was looking for answers about Laquan McDonald's killing, but McCarthy is right. It's the tip of the iceberg. Police violence and street violence, they're often posed as separate problems, but McCarthy tells me they're both symptoms of a broken criminal justice system.
Hey, Jasmine, did you hear that voice?
I did. I heard
Did
it.
you know whose voice that is?
Yeah, that's Common.
That is Chicago's very own Common. Hey, Gary, you did that back in 2015 with Common? What's up with that, man?
So they came to me and asked me to talk about this because,
who is that?
Back, the folks who did this documentary called Race in America, I believe. But I've been having this conversation for at least 10 years. You could go back to when I was in Newark and I was talking to people about race. And every time you do it, you get accused of being a race baiter. But I'll tell you what, every time I had this conversation in the community, and you can go out there and ask if I had this conversation when I was superintendent, and absolutely I did, and the same conversation resulted in the same response every time, which is nobody who looks like you has ever spoken to us like this. And that's really heartening to me, because I think there's solutions here. I think it starts with the recognition of the problem, right? Recognition is the first step to redemption. That's where we got to start. And we got to have these conversations.
So, Gary, I know we got to do conversations, but right now it seems like there's a lot of action going on in the city of Chicago, and no one is talking about it from the perspective of law enforcement. Give me your thought process on when you saw the Dan Ryan shutdown, then you saw the Lakeshore Drive shutdown, and then tell me what would you do as mayor if you knew that there was the potential for a shutdown of O'Hare and the Kennedy?
So let me just back up and realize now this is another thing that we do all the time, which is we look at a symptom and we don't look at the cause, right? The symptom is the fallout and the shutdown of the Dan Ryan and Lakeshore Drive. The cause is the mayor is not listening. He's inaccessible and he's tone deaf. So in my administration, I'm going to be out in the field just like I was out in the field all the time as a police superintendent. And I'm going to be talking to people and listening to them, and you're not going to have to shut down a highway to get my attention. But let me also point out that because of the politics of this, we are not even on a slippery slope anymore. We are sliding. And I just want this from a strict law enforcement perspective right now. The problem with the shutdown of the Dan Ryan was the fact that that's the jurisdiction of the Illinois State Police, not Chicago PD. So when the Chicago PD marched onto the Dan Ryan and helped the protesters shut it down, technically they were breaking the law.
What?
That's a problem.
Wait, the mayor instructed the CPD to break the law?
I don't know if he instructed them. I don't know what happened. But at the end of the day, the superintendent of the Illinois State Police was put in the trick bag because what is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to arrest on-duty CPD officers on the Dan Ryan? That's a big problem. And the police are supposed to enforce the law. It's called law enforcement. So if we don't like that, then let's change it. But now what happened on Lakeshore Drive was the same exact scenario, except it was flipped on CPD. So you know what the city did? The city facilitated the illegal actions of shutting down Lakeshore Drive. They shut it down with sand trucks, which granted is a good thing to do for safety, but by the same token, like I said, we're on a very slippery slope here when the government is not enforcing the law.
Has the mayor lost control of the city of Chicago in your estimation?
I don't think he ever had control of it.
Ooh.
So the short answer is absolutely.
But Gary, you were the chief of police, man. You had to help him keep control. They didn't have control when you were there either.
Does he want control?
We were making big progress, Maze, and you know that. You know the crime was down, the complaints against officers were down, police-related shootings were down. You know, it's a process. You don't flip on a light or sprinkle some magic fairy dust and the world's going to change.
But you got a tutu, man. He got a tutu.
Chop wood.
All right, look, y'all. So hold on. We are talking to former CPD Superintendent Gary McCarthy. When we come back, Gary, we're going to take some calls as well as finish this conversation. It's the Talk Chicago 1690. We'll be back.
Live from the WVON
Look, y'all.
newsroom. Here.
If don't nobody talk, then you can't get no answers. Go ahead, Jazzo.
Gary has my attention now. I ain't gonna vote for him probably, but at the very least, I might follow him on social media. And I'm probably just gonna vote for somebody black just because that's why wouldn't I? If we have black people running, but I can't see Ron getting in front of people and talking about race the way Gary just did.
I'm just saying you gotta force. Look, white people. If he can ignore it from black people, he can't ignore it from white people. And I'm just saying, y'all, we are forcing a conversation. Come on, man. Y'all got the I'm not, again, this ain't support, but dang gone. The chief of police is saying that called the patty rollers the patty rollers.
Right.
Dog, y'all are changing the narrative of how people run for office. Think about when you would have ever heard any mayoral candidate, black, white, Asian, Latino, ever say anything like that. I am not impressed, and I'm not suggesting you vote for Gary McCarthy. But what I am suggesting is that you have to keep pushing the envelope to force, because now he's way over here. He's going to pull, if the right-wing cop is saying the role of slavery and the role of the police was to enforce, that's going to at least pull the liberal people further to the right. To the left. All I'm suggesting is we are forcing a different conversation, and the fact that you don't turn off anybody yet means that in an election, I'm sorry, y'all, I get too passionate. In an election, nobody is trying to convince the convinced voters. They are looking for the people who have not made a decision. Once you say, I am voting Democrat or whatever, they pick you up, they take you out of the voter roll. I'm telling you how it works. Everybody's name is on a list. They try to reach you. They try to determine which way you're going to vote. Once they determine, if you say I'm voting for Democrat, then they put the plus in the box. They move you, they never contact you again. My point is, black people just stay undecided. We can know where we're going, but make everybody work. Make everybody work. Make everybody court you for your vote. The second you say we ain't talking to this person, then they say, okay, well, we ain't talking to you. You want to force, you want to make people put everything on the table. Now, Gary McCarthy talking about having a conversation, no, that's not going to solve it. But if everybody is doing like this, like it ain't happening, you ever heard anybody, what other cop have you ever talked about the role of police in enforcing racism?
Never.
I mean, have you ever heard anybody?
Not someone with that.
Dude just said, how many times did we see the lynchings and people were handcuffed? So all I'm saying to you is, don't act like, this is the thing, don't act like that's common conversation.
What he said, 1,200 years? He took it all the way back, and so connecting current policing to our nasty history, I didn't expect that.
All I'm suggesting to y'all is force the conversation. Did you say my real name?
I did say Maison.
You keep doing that. You keep doing that on the camera.
You said it on the radio the
I know.
other day.
What is his name?
Take a look during the next break at this, okay? I like the pitch, but I wanted to see what your
Are we back? No choice today? Okay.
People don't want to hear from him, though.
Huh?
Based on your Facebook Live, they do not want to hear from Gary McCarthy.
That's fine. But guess what?
25,000 other people here.
Guess what? Here's the premise. You can make the choice that you don't like a person, right? And hear everything that you want to hear. But I'm going to give as many platforms. The fact of the matter is, I want every mayoral candidate, every time they got an issue, call the WVON morning show. There used to be a time when people didn't call here and it was just a cheerleader fest for whoever was the incumbent. Give everybody a shot, make them all talk. I'm not convincing you to like the dude. I'm saying to you, but make him come talk to you. Right. Don't be like, he know I ain't gonna never hear from them, I ain't never got a shot.
Also, don't give anybody the position without having to fight for it.
Exactly. I mean, it's like, can I tell y'all something? Everybody be talking, like, everybody go to work with a white person. Y'all, like, how many black-owned businesses is it? How many of y'all got black business? Right. Know what it meant. So young and so naive, I thought it would be easy. Control. Never gonna stop. Control. Never gonna stop. Control. To get. You are tuned into the Talk of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson, and sitting in with me today is Jasmine Turner. She is with Black Match Made, and we are talking to Gary McCarthy, former CPD superintendent, now running for mayor of the city of Chicago. Gary, you are saying, man, that the police, I asked you before we left, has the mayor lost control of the city? You said you don't think he ever had it. But Gary, you were the superintendent. He didn't have it when you were there?
Police, if we were performing at a much higher level back when I was the superintendent, we still had a long way to go. And if you look, when people asked me back then, how would we make sure that we institutionalize the things that we were making such progress on? And I want to be clear, that included reducing complaints against our officers, teaching them something called police legitimacy. So the bottom line is, that is a process that was well underway on my watch. After I got terminated, the cap blew off. The cap absolutely blew off. But even though we were making progress, Look at what was happening with closing schools and pulling social services from the South and the West Side. Look at what was happening with the tax rate. Look at what was happening with the exodus from the city, which means that everybody who lives here has to pay more taxes so that we have the coffers to do the things we need to do, to maybe reopen some schools, maybe put some social services back into places that we need them the most. So all those other things were at play at the same time. And while we were making progress, it was not success. It's that simple. It takes a long time to turn this place around. And nobody's willing to do it because of the politics of this mayor.
Gary, should Rahm Emanuel seek out help from the federal government? He's saying that he's not going to. Then we have LaShawn K. Ford saying that we should. So what do you think?
Well, there are partnerships that we have with various law enforcement components, whether it's ATF or DEA or the FBI, and those partnerships work. But, again, we got to help ourselves before we ask for somebody else's help, don't we? And I'm not willing to stand here and say that we can't do that. There are things that we can do that can fix what's going on in the city, and we're just not doing this because nothing's being managed. City government is not being managed. Everything is political. Decisions are being made. Maze, and Jasmine, wait until you hear some of the things that we're finding out. Talk about the corruption of what's happening in city government. The deeper I dig into things like TIF funding, I got to tell you something real quick on TIF funding. Give me 30 seconds on this, please. TIF funding is supposed to be used for blighted neighborhoods that, but for the TIF funding, would stay in that condition. Okay? Now, we're talking to folks from the South and the West Side here. You're going to tell me Block 37 is a blighted neighborhood? You're going to tell me the Willis Tower and Navy Pier and the Marriott that was just built next to the DePaul basketball arena are blighted neighborhoods? They are not. And what's happening is the TIF funding goes out, which, by the way, is 31% of our property taxes is being dedicated to this. 31% of our property taxes are being given out by the mayor to developers in places that are violating the TIF fund law. And at the same time, those individuals are giving the mayor kickbacks in the form of campaign donations to the tune of thousands and millions of dollars. This is insane.
It is.
Hey, let's go to the phone lines, Gary. I'm going to go to Susan. Susan, you're on the Talk of Chicago. You got Gary McCarthy.
Okay, Gary, I wanted to know a couple questions.
You got to do one, Susan. One.
Okay. What prompted you to start talking about this 400-year slavery thing, and do you say this on the white Republican stations when you're on with them?
Go ahead.
So, absolutely I do. And this came about between 10 and 15 years ago when I got seriously involved in criminology. When I was running New York City's crime strategy, I had access to some of the greatest criminologists in the country, including Tracy Mears, David Kennedy, and a whole slew of others. I went to Harvard University to learn about this stuff. I didn't graduate from Harvard. I went there for some programs. But at the end of the day, this was all part of my maturation that's been going on for a very long time. My thinking has morphed over the years, and that has become something that's at the forefront of what I'm doing.
Thanks, Gary. Dave, you're on the Talk of Chicago. You're talking to Gary McCarthy.
Yes. What would you do, and how would you do it to counter racism? That is, not just be against it, but to eliminate it and install a system of justice, compel those white persons who classify themselves as white to end racism.
Go ahead, Gary.
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer, but and it would take a very long time. But the short answer is to first have the conversations and the recognition about how we got here. That has a lot to do with training, education, and the biggest thing that I'm talking about that we got to do is we got to have exposure. I'm sure there were a lot of people in that Bud Billiken parade who sat in cars and just drove down the street and didn't talk to anybody, where in the meantime I was running back and forth and getting hugs and shaking hands and slapping five and so on and so forth. People have to be comfortable with themselves, and they have to have the recognition that, like I said, the things that make us more similar are the things that are more important, our values, and nobody wants to talk about that.
Gary, Audrey asked us, did you learn any strategic solutions while you were at Harvard?
Did we? Yeah, actually, absolutely. There were some things that were woven into my my crime strategy that had to do with the training and police legitimacy. Tom Tyler and Tracy Mears are the godfather and the godmother of police legitimacy and procedural justice, which is treating people fairly. We developed a training program here that every single member of the Chicago Police Department had to go through. Then we developed a second cycle of that, and now I think they're actually doing a third cycle. And it was developed by these are actually Yale professors, but I met them at Harvard. And that was instrumental in reducing complaints against officers, along with beat integrity. Same cops in the same beat every day, so they get to know the 5 kids who are coming from basketball practice versus the 5 kids who are always standing on the other corner.
Jasmine.
Gary, so let's say you win the election. What does the first 60 days look like for you when addressing the Black community by decreasing both crime and increasing the relationship between police officers and the Black community?
So the first thing is going to be the conversations. I'll be out in the community, and people will be up on the floor talking to me. That's the first thing we got to do is we got to talk. But the first thing is going to involve investment. It's going to involve a forensic audit of the finances of the city to figure out where the heck all the money is going, because I think that we have less of a revenue problem and more of a spending problem, and I just described that to you in the TIF funding. So there will be assessment of personnel, there will be assessment of processes, and there will be a focus on customer service and business management of city government.
Gary, 2 more. I know you got to go, and we're going to let you get off. We got about a couple more minutes here. Handicap the mayor's race, and let me know your thoughts on Willie Wilson giving away his own money.
Well, right now, there are 3 polls out there. There's my poll, there's Ron released some figures, as did Lori Lightfoot. They all put me squarely in second place to the mayor.
Do they know you're from New York?
Not anymore, man. I'm from Chicago. I pay taxes here. I live here. I married a woman from Chicago, and my baby is a native Chicagoan. How about that?
I heard that. You born here now. You
so
got
you here to stay now, Gary?
We're not gonna call that an anchor baby, Gary. A Chicago anchor baby. But talk to me. Tell me about.
So here's the deal, Maze. Everybody believes that whoever takes the mayor to the runoff, if in fact the mayor runs, which I'm still not convinced, because his ego will not allow him to run if he's going to lose. So if he does, in fact, run, whoever gets to the runoff with him, if he makes it, is going to win this election. I don't think Willie Wilson, the optics of him giving away money is not good, but I do know Willie Wilson. I think he's a wonderful man, very nice man, and I joke with him all the time now. I want to follow him all around and see if I could get some cash myself.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking the same damn thing. Like, where is Willie Wilson today?
What church he gonna be at on
What
Sunday?
church? Hey, y'all, this was Gary McCarthy. Gary, I'm gonna tell you, you got some challenges in the Black neighborhoods, but I appreciate your candor. I appreciate you coming on, and we're gonna have to continue these conversations. I appreciate you always responding. But look, Gary, we got to figure this thing out in Chicago, and win, lose, or draw, I think you can be part of the conversation. What's up?
Gary, last question, Gary.
Go ahead.
We saw something new happening recently. What do you think about the bait trucks?
About the bait trucks?
Bait trucks and guns and railguns.
So it's not the right solution for what ails you. You don't put trucks on the street thinking that people are breaking into trains. What type of sense does that make? So, and the sentiment is correct. You got people who are hurting out there, and just trying to get by. So, I think it was a poor decision to use the wrong tactic in the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong reason. But I'm not going to endorse that it's okay to break into a truck and steal stuff.
See,
you know what I mean? There's a bit of a line there, but by the same token, bad decision.
Yeah, you gotta hold on. You gotta hold on. We're gonna come back after this break and we'll finish. I got 2 more questions. We'll be back after traffic and the weather.
More of the morning show with Mace Jackson coming up.
No, I'm
on
not.
the
You got the
Talk
bait
of
trucks.
Chicago.
You got the bait trucks. I'm gonna hit the what's his relationship with the current black alderman.
The black alderman?
Yeah, I think that was good stuff.
Yeah.
This was a good. Go ahead. Huh?
Good job.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, did you look at that? I know you were ready.
Yeah, we can do it.
Want to do it? I'm gonna see if I can get going something maybe for tomorrow.
Okay, that'll work.
All right.
You know I'm always good for the
Yeah,
black
this is
money.
going to the
Go ahead,
national
Jasmine. You can talk to the
stuff,
people.
You know, the international.
You got the camera. It's not gonna turn yet. It takes a delay, so you can start.
So then, what do y'all think about Gary? I'm gonna tell you personally, I actually want to hear more of what he has to say. I'm probably still not going to vote for him, but you know what? If there was a runoff and it was him and Ron,
I want him in a debate. I just want him in a debate. Imagine when the conversation goes to talk to us about policing. And all 5 candidates up there, and he says that policing is the racism of the blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well, now,
right?
What the hell happens at that point?
What is Ron going to say to that?
What does every other candidate say to that? What does Paul Vallis say to that? Again, y'all, I want all of our issues. I don't care who delivers. Here's my belief. My belief is that in the first round, I'm voting for a black candidate. Right? Period, point blank. Now, but I think that part of what our job is going to have to be to do is to thin the race out so that before we get to the actual election, there's only one black candidate, because I believe that we've got to be in the runoff. So I don't think we have the option of not consolidating behind one.
It might be Gary and a black candidate.
And then we would go for the black candidate.
Honestly, I don't know if Ron will run, especially with what's going on right now with the crime in Chicago. I don't know if he'll run.
I think that the Pat Quinn thing could be an out.
Yeah.
Right? I think Ron does have challenges, and I think they're trying to line everything up, but I don't know if it's lining up the way that they want. They're betting on money, and they're betting on elimination of candidates. All I'm saying to you all is stop saying no to Gary right now. Stop saying no to anybody right now.
Right.
Don't keep, as they say,
But not just in the local election, in the national elections as well.
keep your powder dry.
Yeah.
Right? The second you declare, you are no longer a factor.
Yeah.
So don't say, hell no, we wouldn't. When the poll calls, I'm undecided. Right? If everybody on the den is like, man, fuck Gary, fuck, they're like, oh, we don't even got to worry about him. So now they don't even worry about dressing the police history stuff. You can seed stuff with every candidate and have them fighting every argument, right? And it don't make a difference where the arguments are coming from, but if you want to answer on policing and he brings it to that perspective, now you're forcing everybody to answer from that perspective.
You're forcing a conversation.
And then you make a quantified decision. Right now, you're making all your decisions based on sound bites and stuff you haven't heard. So if I don't, the goal is to never let Gary McCarthy say that on stage, because nobody wants to answer it from that perspective.
You know what, though?
Oh, we back.
Ask him about the
Huh?
really moves and says, why people telling him what to do?
What, you can do that. You can do it if you want to. You are tuned in to the Talk of Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Mace Jackson. We are wrapping up. I got Jasmine Turner. She's been sitting in with me all day. And Jasmine, we got 2 more questions for Gary McCarthy, and then we're going to let him go because I know he's got to take care of the babies.
McCarthy just ran out to take the baby to school. She got tired of waiting. So one one more divorce, I'm going to be on the street.
Hey man, trust me. Hey man, do not get another divorce. It costs too much. Hey, Jasmine, you had another question.
Gary, I do have a question. I'm sure you saw where Willie Wilson and responding to the whole money issue, he said he's tired of white people telling him what to do. What do you think about that, Gary?
So I read Dr. Wilson's book about his biography, and how he came up as the son of a sharecropper and the experiences that he had with racism growing up. And I think that is a emotional outburst, not an outburst, but an emotional response to decades of what he's been subject to. I think the world of Dr. Wilson, and at the end of the day, he has a right to feel like that based on what he's experienced. So it is what it is.
Gary, I'm going to tell you, you know what? Before this conversation today, I probably really had never even paid much attention to some of the things you were saying. But today, you have my interest.
So let me tell you. And the other problem is, he come around here and all these women be swooning. Gary, you still ain't never answered. You know what? I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it go. His wife is there. I was gonna answer. He be coming up they be coming up on the tapes, and let me leave it alone. Hey, Gary, last question, and then I'm gonna let you go. Hey, man, what's your relationship with the Black Caucus in City Council, and what's your relationship with your former officers?
So let me answer the second question first. I think my relationship with the police officers is very, very good, because whenever I speak to them on the street, they say, "Man, do we miss you, boss? And if that's how you were treated, what would they do to me if I make a mistake?" And that's a sentiment that really is hurting the city right now. So that's the first thing. But as far as the Black Caucus goes, it was very disappointing to me to see people who I had great relationships with turn on me because it was politically expedient at the time. And the next thing you know, there was a swirl around me, and nobody was aware of the circumstances and what could and couldn't happen and what I could and couldn't do, and people walked away from me. So I'm the eternal optimist, and in spite of that, people will have a clean slate with me, whether they were friends or foes. And this applies to everybody, because, I always give people a chance. Some people didn't give me a chance. That doesn't mean it's fair, but I'm still going to offer that in return. And my relationship with the Black Caucus was a good example of that. I had met with the Black Caucus probably a week before I was fired. And you know what they were talking to me about was quality of life issues. They weren't talking to me about crime, and we walked away in a good place. Next thing I see is a whole bunch of people standing up in cameras saying that I should leave. So, I saw some of the aldermen recently, had very brief conversations with them. But, I think legitimacy will come through at the end of the day, and we'll be able to get through this.
Gary, again, I want to say thanks for coming to the WVON morning show.
It's always a pleasure.
All right.
Just let me know, and I'll be here.
All right, my man. Hey, if you get that debate, man, you know what? Sonya, because you know what? I want, hey, Gary, I got a direct line to the mayor, right? I got a direct line to the mayor. So I'm going to call him up. Sonya, get the mayor on the line, because I think he might listen to a message from you. He ain't going to return your call, right? He ain't going to pick up the phone, but if you leave him a message, he will return. Sonya, get him on the phone. Get the mayor on the phone, fella. So, Gary, we're going to call him up. I'm going to tell him about this challenge you got, this debate on crime and violence.
This is Messy Mondays for real.
We're going to call the mayor up, and Gary, I want you to lead the mayor message. I'm going to start it off, but you go ahead and leave it. You can finish it up. The man, look, Mr. Mayor, I'm telling you, give me a call, man.
You have reached the private voicemail of the Ram Father. I cannot come to the phone right now because I'm working on my master plan to rid the city of the coloreds. If you'd like to leave me a message, please do so with caution. Because if you're asking me for a favor, please be reminded that you may be asked to do me a favor. In the future, if you're still serious, leave a message after the beep. This is the Ram Father.
Hey, yo, Ron, this your man, Maze Jackson. You've been calling me back, but I got my boy G Money. You know him, Gary McCarthy on the phone. He want to issue you a challenge to debate crime and violence. Gary, go ahead, man.
Hey, Hey, Ron, I just want to help out, man. Give me a call. I know how to fix this. I could help you out.
I'm your boy, man. That's your boy.
Gary said, "Hey, Ron."
Hey, Ron. You know, could you imagine Gary coming up to this office? Hey, yo, Ron.
Hey, yo,
It's
that's
your
what
man.
he just said.
Hey, y'all. It is the WVON Morning Show. Gary, thanks for being with us. We appreciate you, man.
Hey, you guys are crazy, man. Thanks.
Yeah, all right.
Thanks, Gary.
Hey, y'all. This has been the WVON Morning Show. Jasmine. Hey, man.
What's up?
You all right? Did you make it? Did the den eat your life?
Tiger Lily just said 2 down. I made it twice.
You made it twice.
I made it twice.
Jasmine, do you still think that after being on the WVON Morning Show, that less than 60%, more than 60, what'd you say? 60% of black men cannot take care of their families? You still on that?
You know what? I said that 60% of black men are not financially prepared to provide for a family. And I stand by that.
You know what? I don't know if we're going to let you come back. You keep talking.
I'll see y'all soon.
Hey, y'all. This has been the WVON Morning Show. I've been having a great time this morning. Hey, we talked about a lot of stuff. Hey, Amisha, unblock Jasmine, man. Unblock Jasmine. Y'all got to get some black girl magic going on. We talked to Amisha Cross. We had Jasmine. That was Gary McCarthy as well. Y'all, the WVON Morning Show. This show don't stop. You know, we keep on rolling and we keep bringing you the information. Now, I'm going to tell you, you may not care for Gary McCarthy. You may not care for any of the candidates. But what we want to do is keep, as Mr. White says, Jesse White used to say, keep your powder dry, soldier. Right? Don't pick so early. Wait, make them all work. Make them all dance. Make them all perform for you. And then you pick from the best close to the last day. Now, y'all, this is going to be a tough week for me, WVON. I'm going to need y'all to stay with me.
We praying for you.
Because my daughter is leaving me to go to college this week. My baby.
She's grown now.
She ain't grown! She baby grown.
She's a grown woman now.
She going to adulthood with training wheels, as I like to call college. But I'm going to tell y'all, it is wonderful to see this wave of young black people. I've been looking at my timeline and my feed, and it's just been awesome to see so many young black kids going away to college and going to take full advantage of what the world has. Look, for Annette Flournoy in the newsroom, for Miss Sonia Escobar, she is the musical conductor of the Soul Plane. For Jasmine Turner,
holla.
Black Match Made, I am the host of the WVON Morning Show, and if they don't like it, you can still tell them. May said, we out of here. Peace.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of
Good
the
show,
nation.
kid.
1690 WVON.
Go ahead, you can get a rap, cuz it's silly. Silly.
I made it twice this time, y'all. Are we okay now? You know, are we good now? You know, even though Mays will not move on from this 60% thing, which the interesting thing is that so many different people actually agree with me today. So I think you just got to move on from it. But black men, I love y'all. The DN, I love y'all. And whenever they have me back, you know, I'll come back. That's all I can say.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Peace out.